Hello and welcome to my desk. This is Lena. Well, I got some art books, Danish art books that I want to share with you guys because to me they have been like really inspiring as a gouache painter, and I want to share it right now because I have seen that Sandra Scraps to Beauty and also Colleen has been using some sticks called tempera paint sticks, and I thought, well, maybe it's time to use that as some sort of rabbit trail to share. This Danish artist called Hans Scherfig. He's very popular in my country, and he lived from 1900 to 1975. Let me just get some more details on him. I'm not so sure. Yeah, he was born 1905 and died 1979. Most of his art that I know of is from 1973, where he started to do a lot of decorations in schools and cartoon and books sold and showed in the libraries. So a lot of his art from 1973 are the ones that I am familiar with. I want to flip through, maybe this catalog is even better because this one is more about his life and his vision of his art. So there is a lot of text in this one. He painted with tempera. His material is an oil-based pigment that's using the binder egg white. And then when the water gets added to it, you can liquefy it and paint with it, and you can actually also glaze with it. And then when the water evaporates, the egg white will bind the pigments to his substrate. And his most favorable substrate was wooden masonite plates, like wood board. And then you can, when it's dry, you can come over it and varnish it, and then the colors is like really bright and almost like glowing. And most of his work, when he didn't use the tempera paint, he used the German deck white, which is, if I just freely translate it, it's like white gouache, you could say. I think we would know it today as white gouache. This is his rendition of some biblical drawings and paintings, some of his early work, but soon he found his style, which is more like this animal style that I know him for. And he also did a lot of linoleum carving, you know, when you carve on linoleum and make these plates where you can make like multiple prints. So like not gel plating, but you know, like print making. But what made me like his art is somewhat not only the simplicity, but more the recognizable elements of when I was younger and visit the public library a lot. A lot of schools and textbooks, illustrations in textbooks and stamps, and he was a very visual artist when I grew up in the 80s, and a lot of his work was done in the period 1973 going forward until his death. So yeah, it's just like that sad tale that when an artist dies, he becomes suddenly like super popular and famous, and then you see the man's artwork everywhere. But can you, when you look at this, just imagine why he was such a popular illustrator for school and kids' books? And when I look at this as a newbie gouache painter, I'm thinking there is hope for me yet. I think I can do something similar. So I have been very fond of. There is some nudity here. Okay, now we come to his animal paintings. I look at them and I think that it it's fun to do renditions of his work. Okay, I'm gonna skip because he has done so much and there's so much that's illustrated. But I love, love, love his color selection, his color palette, where he's working with Prussian and indigo blue next to a viridian. So what he's doing is that he's having a very limited palette where he just mix the viridian with the blue tones, and that makes him able to do a lot of layering with the same colors. I love his simplicity of his animals, and I especially love that it looks like something I want to try. You know, when you see some art that really brings joy to you, and especially I'm fond of his elephants. His elephants is just adorable. Look at the trees with the fat tree trunks, and everything looks so soft because there are not many sharp edges. Everything is like curvy and like round shapes. The way he draw tigers and lions are also really likable. And I can only imagine how much fun he must have had in his studio with this tempera paint once he got, uh, you know, to the point in his life where he could live of being an artist. So he, in a way, it must be like living out an artist's dream that you find your style and your own tool, and then you just stick to those things for the rest of your career and get like really familiar working with your supply that you have chosen. And I think I admire that in an artist like him. Look at his hippo. Oh my God, it's so cute. And don't you think when you watch things like this that you want to paint it? Yeah, that's what brings joy to me when I look at art. If I want to, you know, get my hands dirty, dipped into paint, and try and make my rendition of it. Also, these chameleons here are just stunning. I'm sorry. But yeah, I really admire that he picked his favorite art supply and stuck to it, and then just started to explore that art tool on the same substrate for a long time. Because the reason why I admire that is because I skip around so much. I feel, you know, the saying that jack of all trade, master of none. And I think of that saying in conjunction with Scherfig because he really stuck to his choice and became the master of it. And I sometimes think that I get distracted by so many wonderful art supplies. I want to try them all. But what he did was that he painted several renditions of his motif. Yeah, it's just so adorable. And I think that most of us don't have the attention span to stick to the same motif year in and year out. But when you do it, you get to explore a lot of color combinations. Like, look, this is still his elephants, still just the nature motif with the limited palette, ultramarine, Prussian, viridian, and then of course some earth tones. But so simple, so inexpensive. He's working with the tempera paint that is like kind of inexpensive compared to other supplies like real oil. And he's working on wooden masonite boards, so he doesn't even have to fuss with the linen bound um, frames. And you know, it's just he can stack his things in his studio without, you know, if you create, I have bought one of those gallery wrapped canvases and they take out a lot of space. So this idea of working on wood masonite plate is really appealing to me, because this means that you can not be pressured on the storage, your storage. I'm sorry, I can hardly speak because there's so many things that's going through my mind when I flip through this. This is what I'm talking about. In 1983, that's the era where I was like young. I saw all these buildings in my city painted in his artwork, and it was, some of them are like commercials and other of them are paid from the state, so they show more about, you know, humanity, like be good neighbors, and you know, so but it's, there's always this underlying feeling of nationality when I look at his artwork. Yeah, the reason why I did not show this book first is because it's got like some untraditional images, pictures of his work, because he did so much. Here you can see him sit and paint. So you size-wise can see how large his paintings are. They are sold not cheap here in Denmark. The first exhibition he had, there is this rumor that this guy came in from the street and he was so taken by these colors, the soft shapes, his rendition of these tropical animals, that he said, you know, I cannot afford to pay 1,200 Danish kroner as the painting was listed to, but can I pay you 100 Danish kroner for 12 months? That's like a year. And then the painting will be mine. And then Scherfig, he was like, deal. And then he handed over the painting to the man, and he paid off for 12 months until he owned the painting. And that painting today is worth a fortune. So there is a lot of stories like that when he was in galleries, that he was very close to his audience. So maybe that's also why he come off like such a humanistic, um, like a Danish painter. You know, he also have done a lot of collages, but that's not what he's mostly known for. But okay, so Lena know that he's painting with tempera paints, and the reason why I am so sure that that's what he's using is because I am looking at, if we just go to, okay, I'm looking at the description to his artwork, and this is a catalog of all his work that he has ever painted. And I can see on all of them it says like tempera, 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 tempera. Tempera, he painted to a hospital and to a culture house, tempera, tempera. So I can see that, okay, he's working with tempera on Masonite. So Lena goes out and buy tempera paint. And I don't want to buy the traditional ones where you need to do it from scratch with mixing in the egg white and stuff. So I find that I can get them in these containers called tempera paint. And I wanted to do my renditions of these cute elephants, but I wanted to change up the colors a little bit because I don't want to do just a copy, you know, straight copy of his work. So I was thinking like, oh, if I got some pink and lavender and light blue, gold, of course, and black, and then this is some sort of a skin tone, and this is white. And now, you know, I got the tempera paint. And now I realize that when you have them in these open jars, they seems to want to dry out a lot. So this is the art supply that I need to maintain on a monthly basis. I just need to check in how it is, squirt a little bit of water in it, stir it around, because it is meant to be liquid, and it's meant to be a little bit more liquid than when you squeeze out gouache from a tube. Right now this one, it's not completely dried out, but it's this consistent here, I would say, is creamy like gouache squeezed out of a tube. And The white that I showed you is a little bit firmer um, in its consistence. So it basically needs to be added some water. Oh, I want to show you the white because on the lid of the white you can see how it dries up almost like gouache, with these flakes here. And this one, when your tempera paint start looking like this, a little bit gritty, not creamy, you must maintain it by putting water in it. And I got some water here that I added a little bit of glycerin, and then I boiled some I boiled it, cooled it down, and that's my way of taking care of any germs, bacteria. But you know what? Our tap water is filled with all sorts of chemicals. So it's not like really clean water. But the cleaner the better, right? But it's a very forgiving material and it's fairly inexpensive. And can you imagine that your favorite supply costs like, I want to say nothing? So you can like really just play, man, without having to worry about, oh, you're working on a $5 arch watercolor sheet with expensive paint. You need to be frugal. I think I love that aspect of his art. That's the aspect I love. And I am attracted to it because I think it encapsulates some sort of exploring wildness when you don't have to think about how much you paid for your paper or your pigments. You can basically just go nuts. And I think that that's also why this tempera became a huge hit in public schools. And today they are making a, a sort of this tempera for finger painting, to kids. So it just goes to show that it's a very inexpensive art material, but it also has its limitations. I am not able to glaze as well as Scherfig did, and I think I'm getting fooled because all of his paintings are varnished. So his glazing looks different after the varnish, plus he's got this glow over his work. I have on the museum seen his real artwork shown, and when I looked at it, I was like, that's not tempera, that's oil. But no, it is tempera, but it's all in the varnish. So, but I really think that there is something super likable about his style. So I think that I would try and make a painting with my tempera paint, and I probably would do like a cute hippo. I really like these hippos. And I want to back it up with my gouache because I really also enjoy that the nice blue tone in the background, and I don't really have that dark of a blue in my collection. I'm such an idiot. I forgot to tell the most interesting thing about his art. Typical me, leaving the best part out, right? You know what really made him ensure an income, a steady income? He was actually super clever. Let me just show you this. I told you that he was carving on linoleum, and maybe I got renditions of it. Yeah, okay. No, that's a bad one. Maybe. Okay, I'm gonna flip while I talk, which is multitasking, so it may come out in really weird sentences. Here we got, yeah, good examples. What he did was that first he carved out on a linoleum his drawing. Then he could get a print that he could color in. And once it's colored in, it's an original. So what I'm talking about here is I bet that he experienced, as an artist, you paint 100 paintings. You select 20 to show in a gallery. 2 of them get sold, and those 2 are never coming back home. I mean, they are leaving your property. But this way, he ensured that he always get his stock of, he ensured having his stash in his possessions because people know that that's how he work. He makes these linoleum plates and then he colored them in different colors. So even though there is several prints, you could call it, it's still originals because he like this is a linoleum plate stamped in black and white, and this is how it looks when it's colored in. Yeah, I wanted to, and here you can see like two different color versions of the same print. Yeah, I just want to put it out there because I think as an artist, it's super clever thought of him that how do I, he painted for, you saw how big his Masonite boards were in the front of this book here. You can see how large his works are, right? So he was thinking, if I take the time to carve in this, and then I can play with the colors. And I think that's why he improved so much with his tempera painting, because it is a little bit difficult to make renditions of his gouache. I call them gouache painting because tempera is a strange word to rest in my mouth. And I think modern day today would also pick gouache for this, because today we don't sit and mix with egg white, right? But anyway, I mean, it is complex to do a 101 rendition of his artwork, even though it looks doable, but there's just so many minute mixes that are transitioning from the from the back to the front of his painting, and he could really sit and refine that art skill because he could make stamps of another one in case that he didn't like his progress on one of these things. And I just think that is so that is a nice way of making a living as a professional artist, because your best work never leave your house. Like I'm just thinking, think back to the first sentence I said about you paint 100 paintings, only 20 makes the cut for a gallery, two of them get sold, which means that the 2% of your 100 painting collection was sellable, and now they are gone. They are out of your house, but not his work. And this also is, I think I saw in a museum where he was sitting painting this exact thing here, where you saw the big linoleum print stamp. Oh yeah, here is also some of the monkey in the stamp. Yeah. Okay, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Yeah, this is one of my humble renditions of his artwork. I've also tried to do his mandrill monkey and an elephant, but they're like larger sheets. I have used gouache, and I still have not obtained the layering, the fabulous layering that he is able to make. So it just goes to show that it is a difficult material to work with because it's skitterish, you glide a little bit, and some of it is opaque and some is not. So yeah, I just wanted to show this. Well, I think today that we should try and paint one of his elephants, and I want to speak about how what's going in my head when I want to do a rendition of another artist's artwork. What I can see, it's very significant for me that the focal point in this case is the elephants. They are the most darkest painted shapes in his painting. And I think it's because, and this is my thought, I'm not saying that this is how he was thinking, but this is me breaking down his painting right here. He's working with layering, glazing, coming on top of pre-existed painted areas. So he must know that if he needs to come on top of something really dark, and I know gouache is known to be opaque, but I'm not sure that tempera was super opaque like the Winsor & Newton old school gouache was. I think they were somewhat transparent. So I think that he's working in layers in his brain, thinking that I must start with my lightest colors in the background and then build on top of that by keep adding like the blue or the green pigment to my mix. Keep adding, 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 and building up. So when I come to this area when I want to place an elephant, I would know that my Prussian blue would cover and look opaque when I place my elephant in this water right here. I think that's what's make him able to build up backgrounds that looks like this, where you have like super bright colors in the back going stronger into the front, and then he's ending up with this very significant color coloring where the focal points are very dark, but they are covering up the background. Do I make any sense? Like, look at this painting here. I can see that it's the same mix he has been pushing back and forth with either white or more green or blue. You can just tell that it's done with a very limited palette, but it's the gradation of how strong the colors are done by just adding to the same mix you got on your palette. But he's starting probably out with painting the whole canvas a light color, and that's the color you can see in the background, and then just building on top of that. That's how I'm thinking. That's how I would approach one of his paintings. And it's harder than it seems because of the medium. If I would, if I should do this where I have like really soft and nice shading on the elephants, I probably would work with the background with the tempera style. But then when it comes to the elephant, I would choose um, a different medium to get that transition, because once you have tried to paint with those tempera sticks or the tempera paint, you will find it super difficult. There is a learning curve to it. So I think that's also why some of his coloration looks so rough, like this roughness here is probably what I would get if I try to make a rendition. But let me try and make a rendition of this, because then you can kind of see how I struggle. And if you want to do a paint along, um, I think that would be awesome. I mean, I would love if my upload here would inspire you to grab some art supplies and paint with me. So I think I'm gonna make this live art painting, even though it's gonna end up with a terribly long video. But then you can, we can go step by step, and you can see me struggle, so you kind of know also that it you are supposed to be frustrated right here, and you know, you know what I mean. Okay, so I panned out on my palette my tempera paint, and what I immediately know is that I don't have any green, right? So I think that in my painting, the blue would be more like background foliage, and then my elephant will be purple, and the foliage and flower on the ground up front in the painting will be in these two colors here. And then I gave myself a black and a white. When you paint with, for instance, like acrylic or oil, you have painting mediums. In oil, it can be like very basic linseed oil to make sure that your paint becomes elastic and glides on your substrate. And in acrylic, it's like matte medium, which basically is acrylic paint but with no color pigment in it. So transparent acrylic, you could say. You must understand when you paint with a water-soluble medium like watercolor or this gouache-looking tempera finger painting, I could call it, your medium is water. So to ensure that the paint will glide on my dry substrate here, I think I get the best result if I mist my paper first, because that's my painting medium. And I also want to say, don't do the mistake of dipping into your color and start up in a corner dragging your brush. Because up here you will have what I would call mass tone, like strongest application of color, and then it will wind out getting thinner and thinner. So you will end up with a very dark area here and a bright area here. And if you try to level it out, you will end up with a lot of strokes. And when you paint with this type of watery paint, it's very easy to get streaks. So a way to avoid getting streaks is not by doing like that, but it's like dipping into your color, start in the middle of your page, and then with random strokes, you start just mushing the color out. It's gonna look horrible to begin with, but the randomness of strokes, and I'm using a flat brush with synthetic bristles because flat brushes don't carry a lot of water and synthetic bristles don't hold a lot of water in the brush barrel. So I'm trying to be as much as I can in control of my water because I cannot stress it enough. Water is your painting medium. So it can be a foe and a friend at the same time. A friend when you need to bring elasticity to spread out the paint, and an enemy if you have too much of it. But I am not super experienced painting with tempera, but I have painted enough with it to know the annoying things about it. You know, where it's like super um, when it fights me back. And you know what? Your art supplies should never fight you back. It should be a pleasure to paint. And one of the most pleasurable way to paint one of Scherfig's illustrations is to start out with no sketch. You are just feeling the liberty of having to coat in this whole sheet with one color, and it's very calming and meditative not having to paint around a sketch line, or the fact that you have to sketch first, because sometimes I want to play with color. I want to see color going down on my paper. I want to squeeze it out on a palette. There is some ASMR in that because then you feel now we are painting, you know. And then if I have to make a sketch first, that can sometimes act like a hindrance where I feel like, ugh, I don't even know, you know, and then I often don't like my sketch. And the reason why we don't like our sketches is because they look strange when they are naked streaks on a paper without color. But it takes skills to imagine them colored in with color. And then suddenly, when you can imagine this stick figure with colors and shading, your sketch is not that bad, you know? Like, but it takes persuasions and to look at a sketch thinking this can be good. But I am trying to paint in different directions for the first coat. And now where my whole paper is coated in, I become more meticulous. Like I'm looking for areas that I think could be covered better. Like up here, I don't have full coverage. But can you see with tempera paints, now I'm gonna illustrate how your brush strokes can destroy your the way you layer down color. If I do like this and let go, it will disappear in this end, but I will have this edge here. So can you see how easy it is to build up edges, sharp edges, when you work with this strange medium? And it is strange. So I find that if I apply my paint like this, it will leave me with some sort of a velvet surface that I can live with. And if you wanted a full, like seamless, um, what is the word for it? When everything is coated equally. If you prefer that and you're struggling with this look right here, you must tell yourself that then you need to switch supply over to some matte Winsor & Newton artist grade gouache, because that is what gouache is for and what gouache can do for you. This is like in family with gouache. It really is in family with gouache, but it is not gouache. Working in layers means drying times built in. So you also need to be patient and let this dry. So if I let this dry, I could come on top of this one more time with a similar way of working my brush strokes, and then I will get a more harmonious spread. But I don't mind this velvet looking, because I know there is going to come a lot of layers on top of it. So now I would let this dry and then come back when it's dried. Okay, it has dried up, and it's dried up like this medium would be, like where it's thickly applicated, it will be crackling a little bit, but that's just the nature of it. I also want to say that tempera paint is very transparent. So let's say that you had a foam stamp of an elephant that you wanted to place. You could have stamped your paper. I'm just working on mixed media paper. You could have stamped the image first with your foam stamp or your stamp, and trust that even though we're coming over it with a lot of layers, you would still be able to navigate where your stamp sketch lines are. The idea here is to go from light and then apply darker, darker, darker colors in layers. So now where we got this first coat right here, I got one opportunity to use stencil, where I pick up the tempera paint back to the white of the paper. But you can only do this successfully, I think, now. As soon as you start layering up things, if you think you can stencil down to your previous layer, you will be disappointed, because this is so water soluble and willing to lift, because there's a lot of filler in this paint, that you will come right down to the white of the paper. And fillers are also making this paint grainy, so it lays on the top of the paper. So that's why you can lift it way back down to the white. Can you see how easy it is to lift it to the white? So it's not because it's bad paint, it's just because the way that it's milled, it's very like big chunks of pigments and what else they have made this paint of. Is big chunks that lays on top of the surface of the paper. Like if this was a very fine grinded watercolor, the pigments will be so small that they would actually be absorbed by the texture of the paper. But this tempera paint is not fine grind, and it is not opaque. If you want opaqueness, once again, I recommend gouache. That's gonna give like a very nice opaque layer. I'm just going all over this sheet with this texture here because it's a layering process, so it's just gonna be nice. And I'm still not having a sketch. I know that Scherfig, he would probably have had his linoleum print on top of this. And by the way, now we are talking about foam stamps. He carved out elements like a bridge or a building and had those in linoleum blocks, and he used them as stamps. And it just makes me think about foamies, like he made his own foamies with his elements and then stamped them on in clusters for his artwork. So some of his paintings consist of him also layering these linoleum prints of different elements. It's just interesting. It's a fun way of maintaining a steady income because your audience are willing to buy into the illusion that their original is only original because the way that he chose to maybe add some of his single stamps or choosing a different color palette. Um, yeah, it's just, I think he's awesome. I really like him. Okay, now I got some areas here. And I'm just using a baby wipe. Okay, I'm just gonna, I don't know how crazy I can go with this. But I'm picking up so I get some white showing through. Okay, the next drill is to paint the first layer of foliage. And remember I told you that water is the medium for this art supply. So whenever you feel an urge to rinse your brush in between your application, you must ask yourself, is my paint so liquid that it doesn't need medium to glide better? And if the answer is yes, then wipe off your brush so it's almost dry when you come in and paint with it. Because when you rinse out your brush, it will hold a lot of water, and when you just start dipping in and painting, it's the same as you adding medium, painting medium. The same transfers over with gouache. I mean, you don't have a good control of water if you rinse your brush, take it wet into your gouache and start painting. You will just dilute your gouache. Yeah, I know it's annoying to hear me say these things all the times, but I just want to speak about it because that has been my hardest learning curve. So of course I want to share. I'm putting down this first blue here and I can see that it's very dark. I think I, with favor, can mix it up with some of the light blue that we had. And if I don't have more of that light blue, I can just pick up some white. And now we come to this where I was talking about, I can see that he has been working with this puddle of mix that he just kept on adding to. Now I got a tint of this. So it's a little bit lighter, but it's a different color than what I already have on my background. So it will stand out. And what I will do is simply just paint a lot of flowers by pressing down the, I'm using a catch tongue pointy tip brush, and I have no idea how to make floral stuff and all that. So my basic is just to push down the ferrule to the paper and then it makes an indent, and I think that could be a leaf. That's how primitive I am with my painting skills. But guys, you know what? This is supposed to be fun, right? So why make it super difficult if you can have fun and then just create from where you are right now. And right now I am at this very primitive level of making foliage. So that's the place I'm creating from. Hans Scherfig had a lot of big leaves, big bold foliage in the background, and then he get like more skinnier with the the ground that's nearest to the viewer. So his last applications are done with a liner, but his background paintings often are giant leaves. And I'm going to paint in his style, but I'm not going to look at the reference picture thinking that I should do a 101 because that would just kill the creativity. I mean, this is supposed to be a fun process where we have loosened up also our expectation about getting something that's looking exactly like his artwork, but we are doing an impression of his artwork. I think I could have like more um, bigger leaves in that background. And this is where you probably would dip and rinse your brush and carry on more water into your palette, which is not necessary because now I want to mix a little bit darker than we had before. So I'm not even rinsing my brush. I'm just mixing with my brush, which makes my brush swallow a lot of paint so you can like scrape off the excess. I know a lot of people would say like, why don't you grab a palette mixing knife for this? But this palette right here got round wells, and I think that those pointy mixing palette knives are struggling with that rounded bottom of this palette. So I'm just mixing with my brush, and then I'm checking I got somewhat the same color. I can check it by putting a stroke down. Yes, that's the same, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more. I just want a tiny tint out, and I want it because of variation. So now I can come on top. Yeah, now I can see the difference. Now I want to make some other kind of leaves, maybe some bigger ones, just standing out. I know that I'm gonna have an elephant over here, so I kind of also feel that I don't necessarily want to paint so much here where the elephant is going to be. And what makes this beautiful is layering on top of pre-existed painted things. So don't be afraid to go on top of what you have painted already. Cover it up a little bit, because then you will get that layered effect that creates a depth into your painting. Oh my God, did you see that? Yeah. I dropped my brush, so now I'm just gonna change this shape here. I'm just going in, making a little bit larger leaf shape, something undefinable, but it will all read as some sort of nature. Down here, which will be my earth ground, I think I can work with something that looks like bushes. So I'm just bringing in these kind of strokes here. And now I think that I can use this as it came out of my tube or my bottle. It's darker in its color. And here it will be very visible that you layered on top of pre-existing background. And lucky me, I don't have any drying session built in yet. If you feel that you're gonna have a clumsy line for this, you can have two brushes working at once. I think I would take a liner to do the stem of my foliage, because then I don't get such a clumsy stem. And then while I have the liner, why not add a lot of line work? You know, in nature you can have like straws and grass and whatnot. My drawing is going to be significantly different because the lack of green colors, but I'm thinking that it might have its own beauty in the end because it's sort of a monochromatic expression. So it might hold up in the end, being worth looking at. I hope. We always hope that, right? Okay, I want to go back to dipping in foliage. And I think I like doing this plant that looks like this. Super generic, I know. And the elephant got feet and a tummy, and since I don't know yet how I'm gonna sketch my elephant, I think that I should consider, you know, painting the earth here with some plants also, even though, like I said, it might be covered up in the end. It's just a shame if I don't paint on this whole area here, and then his feet, the elephant feet is right here, and then it's just so naked um, underneath his tummy. But this is super fun. You can actually have, if you got stencils of foliage, you can have them lying on your desk to get inspiration of some painterly mark making of plants and foliage. Maybe I want something with dots. And then those dots could be with a tiny stem. But yeah, it's always difficult having to do, just mark making in, in basic. You kind of run out of ideas and suddenly you're doing the same generic 5 plants over and over again. Okay, I think I'm done with this blue tone now. Now I want to try to mix in some black to that to shade it out, hoping that I get a darker color. And I'm just going slow because I don't really know how dark I want it. You can kind of see it when you twirl it around and then put it next to, just try and make a small, yeah, I made a small mark here. I can see I like that. I want to use this dark ones for trees. So I would probably come in from the top. Notice that I have not washed or rinsed out my brush yet. I keep saying that to be super annoying, but also to remind you about not adding too much water to this palette, because it's just gonna make it more difficult to apply the paint. So I think that this paint actually was meant to be squeezed out directly from its container and used with as little tool as possible needed. And maybe that's why it's so popular for school. And maybe that's also why they call it poster paint, because if you're going to a demonstration or something and you need to prepare some posters in a hurry, this is an inexpensive, easy way to obtain color. I am going to just give myself some sort of naked tree trunks, because I think that's likable, and I don't want to fuss with how the trees are planted into the soil. So I let the trunks either disappear out of the frame. Oh, I'm sorry, my light is freaking out. I want the trunks to disappear to the side of the frame, or going all the way out of the frame here, because then you don't have to deal with stuff like here, where I was just lucky that I had some foliage. But if you stop, like if you plant a tree here and go straight up, you will need to deal with how is the tree attached to the ground. So to make it easier for yourself, if you don't want to deal with those details, just let them glide in and out of the frame, or going from top to bottom. It doesn't matter in the finished artwork. It won't look strange, because hopefully we're gonna make such a cute elephant that everybody will not even notice that you have like odd slanted trees in your painting. Like nobody would question, like, how is it possible for that tree not to tip over with gravity, you know? And I'm not even shading or anything, because I did this mix and I never rinsed my brush. I got so much unmixed paint in my brush that I am having lucky accidents with the streaks of this paint, giving me some variations that I think is instead of shading. But if you cannot resist, sit and shade. Oh, be my guest. Go nuts. It could be so beautiful if you took that time. And that's what I think about Scherfig. He had these big linoleum stamps, so he probably stamped his paper or his masonite board, and then he just had all the time in the world to do all the shading and the mixing and line work. I just picture him sit with cup of coffee, non-stressed, climber in his atelier, just creating, and he know what he's gonna create, because he has a very significant style, and he got all his, I want to call them foamies, he's got all his foam, linoleum prints, so he doesn't even really needs to worry about creating this fantastic sketch, new topic, new composition, new everything. He can work from a painting that he has created once. Now I need to somehow come into this area here with a color change. So now I will rinse my brushes. I think I am done with the blue, what is it called? The blue paint now. Maybe I could go in and add a little bit more branches here and there. But basically, the more layering you can do, I think the more likable it will look. I tend to only give my trees branches in one side of the tree, and then I forget the left side of the tree. Okay, enough. Now I'm rinsing my brushes, and as we talked about water being the painting medium, I'm gonna really wipe off and dry off these brushes before I use them again. So now I am ready to shift color, and I will recommend before doing so that you let this dry completely. So when you are transitioning from one color to another, and I want to go and work with these colors right now, and I can see that I can be so unlucky to pick up, even though it's dry, I will pick up the underpainting. So the best result you can give yourself and avoid frustration is to let this dry first, because then it will be a little bit more resistant when you come on top with your next application that might be in a lighter color. So let it dry. So it has dried up, not like completely, but enough for, you know, I think I can work on top of it. I'm so sorry for the light in my video. I just watched the footage and the light is horrible. So I will try, and I'm putting up my sleeve because maybe it's the black of my shirt that makes the light go crazy. So if I pull up my sleeve so I don't have the black in the viewfinder. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I can't even fix it. Now I want to go in with these three colors here. And I have noticed that Scherfig, he likes to, if he have, let's say that he was in my situation and he only had this palette to do his masterpiece of, he would make sure that the bottom colors also are represented in the top of the drawing, so it kind of marries the whole painting as nature. So he probably would start with the darkest one and make some sort of leaf clusters in the top of the trees, like these are leaves coming out of the branches. I'm just you know, I am dipping in with my tip because I honestly am a horrible floral painter. Seriously, this is not the channel to watch if you want to see anything like a botanical done in a nice way. But we have to create from where we are right now. So I am just winging it as best as I can, man, I'm telling you. But I think that I like the idea of trying to mix my blue with the black and see if I can get somewhat a color for my elephant so I don't have to paint my elephant purple. My original plan was that my elephant could be this purple color here, but I wish that I could get it more like elephant dark. So I am going to try and aim for that. I'm putting leaves on the tree trunk, and I can do that because tempera paint is in family with gouache, so it's like some sort of opaque. And I think it's nice when I see floral paintings that the tree trunks also got something going on in front of them, so it's not like all just a naked trunk. Yeah, I'm gonna mess that up. We have to paint an elephant that also has a trunk. And now I want to talk about something very special. Like, every artist got their grip on how to handle a certain thing. So it becomes like their signature stroke, or if you could call it a signature thing. Scherfig got a very signature element in his floral nature. I would call this like a nature uh, painting. And that is to layer up. For instance, he would make like, can you see this big flower here? Inside this flower here, he is known for coming in with mark making yet another flower. So if you have that in mind, can you see how cute it is when you do that? Like, let me just see if I can make like a horrible example right here. I'm just trying my best here. Okay, on top of an already existing leaf bush shape, you paint inside that with a new shape. So with that in mind, when we're working with the darkest of this color range here, I need to put in some big leaves or bushes in this color here, and then paint on top of that with a brighter color. So my best guess is to simply just go super large, thinking somewhat like nice shaped petals. Like really fully, and it's gonna look like you're covering up too much and it looks like a mistake because they are without the painting inside of them. So they're not finished yet when they look like in this state here. But I see this take on almost every nature painting that he has created. So it definitely is his style, his invention. um, I would also just plant in random large petals here and there. And here you can cover up ending of a tree trunk if you feel that your tree trunk looks weird the way that they are planted into your soil of the ground level. I love when these leaves are coming from the outside and then covering something on the edge here, like for instance something like this, like it's gonna look good when you take off the tape of the edges, and it also brings in that illusion of this forest continuing in both sides here and there, and not just being a still frame of something that only exists in this square here. Okay, now I think I'm done with this purple color, and now I want to transition to a brighter one. So now I'm painting backwards. Before we painted from light to dark, now we are going to paint from dark to light. So you could say that this painting is built up by two sessions. First, a very generic background painted light to dark, and now we are getting closer. So we have to go from dark to light. So I need to rinse my brush and dry it out as best as I can to avoid putting more liquid into my palette. And now I think I might even switch brushes actually. Like I painted the dark purple with a wider bristle. Now I'm gonna change my brush into a slimmer, pointier tip because it will help me get variation in brush strokes. So don't paint this whole thing with just the same 8 round because it would just give the the look of an 8 round brush, you know. Change it up. I'm not sure if I should let this dry. You know, a sane person would let this dry when you come on top of it with a lighter color. I'm just going to test if it's necessary. So I'm just going to test it right here. I think I can carry it. You know, I think I can do it. But it does feel super wet. I have to admit that. But since I am such a non-skilled floral painter, you can already now see how much it helped me when I need to paint smaller leaves to switch out my brush to a smaller size. Oh man, this is so peaceful to sit with this. Just no pressure. And look how my poster paint is coming down in, I want to say chunks. I don't even mind because you know what? I'm gonna slant my paper so I get movement in my branches. My movement doesn't come naturally when I just paint with it ups, you know, facing the right way. But if I slant it, it might give me incitament to try some curvy waves here. I'm saving the light pink for the grass that's gonna cover the foot of the elephant and be grass peeking up at the very, very last. So you could say that this is my last chance to work on the background of my elephant before my elephant comes on. So now I feel that I have covered up some of the areas. Now I can concentrate on working inside these petals. With what, right? I think I will try something with dots here. And then some tiny line work. And then we have a petal, a big place here. Here I can come in with more of these. Yeah, I like this a bunch. It takes time. You can fast forward this video because it's probably gonna bore bore you a lot. You know, it's super tediously, but it's one of those details if you're listening to an audiobook or listening to another streamer. This is the kind of thing that's kind of effortless because in this painting style here, when we are working without a, a sketch, you could say, you got more free time to improvise, and you don't have to necessarily go look at a reference picture constantly. Here I think I should take a liner brush, and it's dry. Yes, I'm gonna take a liner and see if I can get something that just looks like branches. And I know a lot of people are talking about, oh, you shouldn't paint out of your own imagination. You should always use a reference picture. But I think once in a while it's good for you to sit and do a painting like this one here, where you're more like free up. You know, you free up your the pressure of oh, how can I explain it? Like if I'm painting something from a reference picture, I constantly have to sometimes look more at the reference picture than I look at my own drawing itself, and it can be a little bit stressful. But this is so relaxing, guys. It's almost like Tangle in a weird way. Over here we also got one of these big leaves that could carry some inside painting here. And I try to go in and out because that's what nature probably would do. Oh my god, look, this liner brush can like give me a new sort of mark. Let me demonstrate it. Okay, you take the liner brush and then you take a long line, right? And you can get like really long leaves, like isn't it funny? Like just by switching my brush, I suddenly got motivated to a new and different kind of mark making than before. Okay, maybe I shouldn't go cray cray with that one, but I could have like one more here. Okay, this one I think should have like maybe not so many leaves, but just some. Maybe just one on this side here. I don't feel an urge to pull up this color up here. I think it's enough to have the lavender leaves up there, but I will say that I am sad that I only got one sort of foliage going on. So I'm gonna switch back to here we see. I'm really drying out my brush. I'm gonna switch back to this pointy brush right here, and then I'm gonna try and see if I can mix a new color, but still keeping it in this lavender puddle here. So can we agree that now I still got a lavender color, but it's not as this one here? And then I can go on top of these with the new one. Just adding another dimension. So now we're having like 2 layers of the leaves up here, and I think I'm gonna like that actually. That was a little bit clumsy, I know. I get carried away. I think it's easier for me to do these leaves if the painting is upside down. I think some of them might even be attached to anything. They could just be like hovering in the air somehow. I just got this sick idea that everything needs to be attached to something. But maybe you can just have like independent strokes, just like kind of hoovering. Okay, like it, like it, like it. We are so close to adding on our elephant. I still think that I got an empty spot here. Can you imagine if we have like the back of the elephant here? So lucky me, I got more paint left on my palette. I am drying off my brush, and oh, it's almost dried up. Can you see how fast it is when it dries up? And this is where with water you can reactivate it. I just think that I want just a little bit. Oh, that was too weak. So I need some more of the blue here. Tiny amount of water. It doesn't take much, and suddenly it's workable again. But my most annoying habit when I work with gouache and stuff like this, when my gouache dries up on my palette, is that I come in thinking that I need a lot of water to reactivate dried gouache, but it honestly doesn't take much. I just want to come in and do a little bit more mark making on this area here, because I think it looked a little bit lonely. Oh, great, Lena, why don't we just paint a cactus in the middle of the jungle? Okay, I'm leaving it, I'm leaving it. There are just some areas here and there, I think mark making would be fun to place. Like something. Okay, I should let this dry now. I'm gonna let this dry. Now I'm ready to sketch. Okay, listen. Don't sketch with graphite. Don't pick a pencil, because graphite got this kind of shimmer in it, so it's very visual, and since this poster paint is so transparent, it may shine through your sketch lines. And I would recommend that you find a colored pencil in the same color of your elephant, and then you make sure that the tip is blunt. So if you just sharpened your colored pencil, scratch on a piece of paper to give yourself a blunt tip. Because the binder of this poster paint is so weak that it doesn't attach well to any surface. Like, see how you can just scrape off from the tape? Can you see? And I have also seen examples of when schools are using these for posters, and when it starts to rain, everything just disappears from their poster. So that's how I know that you know it, it it doesn't hold on to the page with very much. I'm trying to make space here to put my elephant in the picture so that you can see what I'm sketching after. And of course mine is not gonna look anything like this. Let me get, I got a huge sponge here that I can put under so that the glare is not that bad. The glare is still bad. How about this? Okay, my sketch is not gonna look like this, but I want to say to his grace, he's making it so easy for himself that the feet of the elephant is touching the end of the paper. Imagine if you had to start the feet up here in the middle of the foliage, then you have to build it in with layered over leaves on top of the back leg and everything, you know, much more than here where it's rather simple. Can you see it's just a finished top coat? So I'm gonna do the same trick, making it easy for myself to sketch the feet touching the end of the paper. And now I'm sorry, I need to lay down my paper. Yeah, how to do this. Not all of this is dry because I was so generous with my application. And I got this favorite spot here that, oh, I would hate to cover that up. So I'm kind of visualizing a small elephant. And I'm looking at this round curve here. Can you see that curve from the trunk to the end of the tail? So I'm thinking my elephant could be like a tiny guy in this curve right here. Right here. I'm more scratching into my paint than I am actually drawing. And I like that because I don't like a lot of sketch lines for this this fella here. And then we have a trunk and we have a mouth. And then from the mouth there is like one long line down as a leg. You cannot see anything. What if I sketch with water? Maybe you will be able to see more. Because I want you to see how I place things on my paper, how I think. Because sometimes I tend to sketch out too big and then I cover up something that I actually liked from my drawing. But by thinking in scale and looking at the big shapes of what we are going to draw is easier to sketch in. And here I can immediately detect that there is an unbroken line from the trunk, the mouth, a curvature, and then straight down to the end of the paper. That's one leg, and then it goes up and then has a curvature to the tummy. Something like this. And then the front leg is coming out about here. And he's got a tiny knee, so it's not a straight line. I'm just with a wet brush going to block that in. So that's my leg right there. And then I can see after I sketched in my legs that I'm gonna have like an odd shape if I have to squeeze in his tummy underneath this back curvature here. So I'm gonna enlarge his back like this. And then we have this long line work going from behind his ear, around his bum, and then straight down back of his leg to the end of the paper. So to get that same elegant line work, you could say, I'm gonna do the same. Just following one soft curve and then add in the leg got a small kneecap. And then the back leg is just poking out like this. I'm just gonna block that in. And then he's got a tiny cute little tail. And now it's easier for me to place the ears and the eyes, because now I know that his thrust, tucks, teeth, the white thing, is going to be around here. His eye is going to be here. And then I can see that his brain is having like a forehead and then a curve upwards to make room for the brain. And right where that curve ends is where the ear would start. And the ear is ending almost close to his back leg, and mine is here, so I can see that my curved ear should be somewhat like this. And then I can try and make it into like what I think is a shape of an elephant ear. And I know it's impossible to see what's going on my paper. It looks like this when you sketch with water. So I think for the sake of the stream and everything, I'm quickly gonna go in with a dark outline so that everyone can see, you know, my the contour, the line work. That's Lena. Can you find a word for it? Okay, I'm just going in. But it's very forgiving to sketch like that, because sometimes a pencil line, it's built into our brain that we can, hey, that's a line that can be erased, so we should erase. And then suddenly you're just sitting and erasing like a freak. But when you sketch with a wet brush or a color pencil, there's something inside of you that knows that know that it's not easy to erase these things. So we just have to deal with it. And that's why we tend to sketch looser and softer when we are using supplies that are harder to erase. And I'm guilty of the erasing part as soon as I grab a pencil. I actually even grab my eraser together with my pencil. That just shows how, it just lies in the nature of working with pencil. That is super dark. I am really painting this dark, but I'm mostly doing it for the sake of the stream, because it helps you to see. This is the front leg. I am super fond of that soft curve going from the end of the ear and down to his leg, like this long line work right here, where you go like this. Is this giving you this cute shape? No wonder that Scherfig is the favorite artist in my country when it comes to decorating kids' rooms. There are so many of his illustrations that you want to decorate your kids' rooms with, because it's just so pleasant to look at. All these simplified lines. My elephant. Okay, I'm working with a flat brush. Now I'm putting in water into my brush because I want to make some sort of a liquid wash that I just can cover my elephant with immediately. So I'm just going in, trying to avoid the tusk area. Is it called a tusk? I don't know. Teeth. I think the shape of an elephant is less intimidating to paint contra. The hippo was also easy and cute, right? But if you wanted to make like a lion, I think he had like a much more detailed face, and yeah, I think that the elephant is the most likable shape to work with of his illustrations. A little bit of the black. I'm taking a little bit of water to make it more elastic. Oh my god, he is so cute. And I like that he is so squeezed together, like a little bit chubby. And now my stream, oh my god, it's been so long, and I am tempted to rush through this elephant just to end the stream. So, it's gonna take me hours to upload to YouTube. So I don't think that I will spend a lot of time of this elephant. You could go cray-cray with a bunch of details, but watch out if you're using colored pencil on top of this. I know you can use colored pencil on top of it, but watch out that you don't scrape off your paint by having too pointy a tool. But this really would be nice to use, you know, um, pencil work on for just details. I'm switching my brush now because I need to do that round curve around his leg, because what I like about, oh my god, I had a bead that ran from my ferrule down into my, I'm simply just gonna wipe everything off. That's how scared I am of a bead with this media here, because it's just could ruin it. What I like about Scherfig is his round, non-edgy curves. So this straight line work here is too straight for his universe. So I want to go in and grunge up all the straight lines and thinking soft curved. And I also think that's why he is working with those long lines, like where he can simplify things. He chooses to simplify it, and I think my ears are a little bit too round. Maybe it's more likable if I got some sort of a shape like this on it. I just bent the line work inwards here and out again, so I kind of painted like a wave, like this. It's very badly painted because it's drying up. More wavery. Yeah, I think now that I got my sketch locked in, and then I would switch to a flat brush for filling out the colors of his body. Yeah, this one will do. It's dry, so I would come in And then just filling out. Ooh, I'm lifting off. I feel that I should build in a drying session right here. I can feel that I'm lifting off. I'm just gonna take just some of these areas here. Yeah, I am totally lifting the underpainting. So time for it to dry. Bummer. Okay, so now we got like the basic sketch down, and now comes a very important intermission, and that is to really study your reference picture and ask yourself the question, why do you think this is so cute? My answer is that I like his eye. It's just so tiny and innocent, childlike. I like that there are wonky lines, so no straight lines. I like that every line is softly curved. And I love that he's using simplicity, so everything is in long, unbroken line as possible. Like, look, the trunk and the ear is like one long shape. The tusk, the mouth, the leg, those things, look at them, and you find them by asking yourself, why is this cute? And then you have done a study for remembering what you want to bring in your sketch. I also like the way that his tail is just like this small thing coming out somewhat like this. And then I'm correcting um, some things here with a liner brush, because I can see that his trunk needs to be enlarged all the way down here, and it just ends like a simple shape. And now I basically have my elephant blocked in. And because we're working with tempera paint, you don't need to come on top of anything with white. You can use a baby wipe to draw in the tusk. Because you're just lifting with your wet baby wipe. And the magical about doing that is that you will not get like a clean lift. So you will have like part of the background color as part of your painting. So you get like a contaminated white, you could say. But it looks better, I think, than if I just came in with a white Posca or something, a white pen. And I think these tusks are too straight because they're supposed to be a little bit curved, right? So I'm just gonna lift in that curve. Yeah. Now it's not like a straight line. I will take a flat brush and it's somewhat dry, and then I will just start putting in the colors, blocking in the colors. And now I am going to do probably a really sloppy job because I want to end this painting session. But what I can see is that we got some dark values behind the ears. And I'm just picking up our primary elephant color mixed up with a little bit of black. So I am shading it in, and then I'm going around the ears, and then the ear casts some sort of a shadow down here because they're like really big, and then down to the tummy. And let me see, Scherfig has chosen to paint dark colors on the whole back of the elephant and then enhance the ears as the brightest on his elephant, so I'm simply just gonna follow and do the same. And then on his leg here, I want to do artistic license freedom to paint like a little darker color right where the leg is curving up down to the tummy. Just to get a little more shape out of him, I guess. And then with that dark color, I can really stress out that round curve that I liked so much. But yeah, there's not much coloring for us to do with this cute elephant. The leg that's behind here I would make dark because it's kind of in the shade. And then I know that I dislike super straight lines because that's you know, I just noticed that what I liked about his illustrations are the soft lines. So I try not to make like super straight line going down to that leg, like straight. So I will try and paint in a little curved end kneecap or something. And then I'll also work with the dark color for this back leg to push it back so we kind of carve out the front leg as the one in the front. The nice thing with working with this poster paint and also like this style here is that there's not much like rinsing brushes, uh, I just dip without rinsing my brush, so it's a very spontaneous way of painting, and I really like that. That kind of speaks to me because with watercolor you would have to glaze and worry about edges and do you have blooms, how is it drying up. But here it's almost like a mixed media medium because you can regret so many times. I just get the same feeling as if I'm doing mixed media, that I cannot do so many mistakes, which is fun because this is not a mixed media. This is just tempera paint. I can see that Scherfig has really enhanced this ear in a bright color. Let's see, yeah. So I'm just gonna do the same. And then We have like, and remember that the head is the tallest on the elephant, so there has to be this slant down his spine. And now I want to put in his eye. I'm not sure that I can lift a round circle, you know, like I lift it to the tusk. So I'm just gonna use the white paint, the white tempera paint, and give myself a round eye. So let me see, where does it, oh, it's so cute, that just round, boop, and then a black center. I'm gonna put like a thick coat of this white to make sure that it doesn't get pulled back. Yeah, this is this is as much as I'm allowed to put in without, I can feel that I'm lifting the underlayer. Okay, guys, we're not finished yet. You're thinking like, oh, this is like the longest stream ever. We need to come in with pink colors, and we're so close to be finished. I need to come in with some foliage and flower. Where's my tape? Right here. And I'm just gonna whisk up something that looks like grass, preferably front of the legs, so we kind of get the illusion that he's walking in the forest. So first I whisk up grass, just sporadically. And then again, this trick about letting some of them come in from the side in some sort of a leaf shape. And then I just want to make some small flowers in this cute pink color. And I know that this is gonna be the last coat that I probably do on this drawing here. So I'm coming in with like a super thick layer because I want it to be opaque. So I have like a really well-loaded brush with this brighter pink. And then what's left for me to do is to put more white in the eye and then a black center for the pupil. And then of course off camera I probably would fiddle a bit more with his skin, you know, but, or maybe not. I mean, sometimes it just is what it is. Oh, I like this. Okay, I actually think that I will put a flower right here. And this is why gouache-like materials are so fun to work with. Also acrylic, you know, that you can layer up like this on a super dark background. I totally am in love with this pink color here. I can hardly stop. It's just so likable. Like a fresh blow of something delicate. Oh my god, I can't. I'm not kidding you guys. I can't. I can't stop. Oh my goodness. It is so likable. Maybe I should let this dry a little bit and then take off the tape and then say goodbye to you guys. Thank you so much if you watched this whole video. I know it's asking a lot. It's a long one, but I just feel that I would rather do my best with this. I would even call it a tutorial than do like a half-ass tutorial skipping important parts, because like I told you, I wanted to be full disclosure about is it called disclosure? You know, I wanted to like be super honest about what I have learned and what's bothering me in certain um, situations painting with these opaque gouache tempera kids paint whatnot. So yeah, gonna let it dry. And here is the finished painting. Oh, I love it a lot. I love it a lot. I love all the layering. I love the color scheme. I love his eye. I just dotted in an eye and did a little bit of dark shading around the eye socket. And then I added some whisk to his tail to make it look like fur hair. I like it a lot. Thank you for watching along. I hope that you will try this yourself. I can guarantee you it's not stressful. It's a delightful painting session, and it teaches you so much about layering. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.